Hey guys, Janus here. I've got some awesome news to share. After much consideration, I've decided to release the Angion Method 2.0 early. This newer version, while not able to completely phase out the usefulness of the first version, will more than likely become a mainstay for most guys. This version of the Angion Method came about after literally hundreds of comments and feedback given about the first. The number one biggest problem guys reported was lubrication issues. No more lube will be needed. The second most common report was trying to stave off orgasm. This has also been addressed. Third, 2.0 helps to effectively use the shape of the male member itself for producing faster gains. Lastly, this version helps guys literally pull blood into and out of their member much more effectively. Just to do a bit of a review, I've drawn behind me here a rudimentary illustration of the male pelvis and some of the blood vessels that we're going to be stimulating when we perform the Angion Method 2.0. Starting from the top, we have the aorta right here, and then the twin branches which go into our legs. And then off of those we have the twin internal iliac arteries right here. And then the internal iliac arteries then terminate into twin internal pudendal arteries, which help feed the corpora cavernosum. But then even further down off of that, there's a very important fork which I'm going to be covering later, and we're about ready to see in a cross-section view. For the purposes of demonstration, I've made this an extremely straightforward layout, and I haven't included a lot of the arteries which are also stimulated by the Angion Method 2.0, and just focusing on the main branches. Starting from the top again, we have the aorta right here, which then terminates into the internal iliac artery here, and then further down the internal pudendal artery, and then a very important fork occurs right here, and this is the bulbourethral artery, which runs through the center on either side of the corpora spongiosum. And it's this branch of all of these other arteries which we're going to be physically manipulating using the Angion Method 2.0, and it's going to be the main focus from here on out. As we can see here, the corpora cavernosum is surrounded by several layers of connective tissue, which I've made different colors for the purposes of making them more visible. Starting from the outside, we have the Coles fascia, and then just beneath that, the Buck's fascia. These two fascial wrappings go around the whole of the corpora chambers, both of the corpora cavernosum and also spongiosum. Going in further, we then have the tunica albuginea, the densest of all the fascial wrappings found in the male member. Based on genetics, a male can be born with a tunica that consists of anywhere from one layer going either circumferentially or longitudinally, two which overlap perpendicularly, this being a wrap which goes lengthwise and also circumferentially, or as many as 3 layers with varying arrangements of lengthwise and circumferential wrapping. Because of both the thickness of the tunica albuginea and the variability found in human males, this makes the corpora cavernosum an undesirable target for improving the rate of blood flow via physical manipulation. Notice, however, that the corpora spongiosum only has the Coles and Buck's fascia surrounding its erectile tissue, and that they wrap in only one direction as opposed to perpendicularly. This parallel wrap is the primary reason why the corpora spongiosum does not harden as it expands with blood like we would see in the corpora cavernosum. Because of the notable lack of dense connective tissue and hardening during engorgement, this makes the corpora spongiosum, along with the glands, an ideal target for blood flow manipulation. Now, I'd like to draw your attention to a few more important areas which will become relevant later on. Notice how the corpora spongiosum does not have any veins running along its inside, only arteries. This means that blood moves in only one direction inside its chamber. Next, notice the veins which run in parallel right here, the bulbourethral veins that carry blood back towards the body. Then take note of the 2 veins on top right here, which I apologize is obscured by blur. Starting from the outside going in, we have the superficial dorsal vein, And then beneath that, which is also beneath the buccal fascia, we have the deep dorsal vein. And then to the left and right, we have the para-arterial vein, both lateral and medial. These veins that I've pointed out not only help drain the respective corpora chambers, they also help drain the glands, another highly exploitable structure of the male member. Okay. To help everyone better understand everything that's happening, I'm going to explain a little bit using this cross-section, and then we'll switch to a more traditional view. In previous videos, I talked about how arteries are known to penetrate the central masses of tissues and then radiate outwards, and that veins typically run along the outside of tissues. The male member is no different. So returning to this cross-sectional view, we see the internal pudendal artery here, which then deposits into the bulbourethral artery right here and runs along the central channel of the corpora cavernosum in parallel with the urethra on either side. Following the bulbourethral artery, we find that the far-reaching tip penetrates and then radiates outwardly inside the glands. Though I have not drawn them in this illustration, near the outer rim here, veins would be running back towards the body in a few directions. This is where the four veins I first mentioned become relevant. Alright, switching back to a more traditional view, I've drawn here a dual-sided view of the male member, this being the top side, this being the underside. The first illustration, the one here on the left, that I'd like to talk about is much like the very first illustration I did explaining the original Angion method. This one has the pertinent veins running along the middle portion, along with additional veins being shown leaving the glands, and then these two arteries which run in parallel. Just to help point everything out, we have right here the superficial, and then just beneath that we also have the deep dorsal vein, and then running alongside of it we have the dorsal artery branches of the internal pudendal, which feed the glands, as I showed in one of the previous illustrations. And then, once more, as I showed in a previous illustration, we have the para-arterial veins, both lateral and medial, which also help drain the glands. So whenever we're using Angion Method 2.0, we are stimulating all of these veins, as in we're draining blood through them, and we're also pulling blood through the dorsal arteries, not just the ones that are in the corpora spongiosum, which would be the bulbourethral arteries. Before I go into the explanation portion, there are a few warnings I would like to give about this new version. First, after repeated use, you may notice veins appearing on your glands, or you may actually begin seeing the arteries feeding your glands. No need to worry, that is normal. What is not normal is if they hurt or become tender. This is a sign of overstimulation, improper timing, or injury. Timing is very, very important for this exercise. If you become overzealous, mistime your motions by going too quickly, or attempt to aggressively handle your member, you do run the risk of blowing out a blood vessel. This is a very powerful exercise, and that fact must be respected at all times. Also, go slow and be steady. This means give yourself time to get the technique down and see how your body responds before you attempt to ramp up your pace or the amount of blood that you attempt to move. Lastly, because of how this exercise works, your glands may become larger in time. Just like the first demonstration, I will be using a cucumber. However, unlike the first Angion method, you need not be erect for it to work effectively. Even being in a partially flaccid state, you can still move an amazing amount of blood into and out of your member. Taking your left hand, make the following shape. Then, place your hand like so. Then, using your right hand, place it over your glands like so. Now, using your left hand, gently clamp down, just enough to partially depress your corpora spongiosum, Then stroke upwards until you feel your glands balloon. Once it has, release your left hand and then squeeze with your right. If you perform the motion properly, you should have felt blood rush from your glands and through your veins. While at first this motion will be awkward or difficult, with time you will be able to perform the motion very quickly. Just to make sure everyone understands, I will go through everything once more and then have everyone follow along for a brief demonstration. Once more, take your left hand and form this shape, then place it over your member like so. Then take your right hand and place it over your glands. Now, gently, using your left hand, clamp down once more, just enough to depress the corpus spongiosum. Then stroke upwards until you feel your glands balloon. Then release your left hand and proceed to squeeze the blood out of your glands using your right, like so. Now that I've shown you everything in slow motion, I will now demonstrate how to properly perform it much more rapidly. Please keep in mind that everything I am doing is exactly like the demonstration up until now, only much faster and streamlined. Okay, as I said, that's quite a bit faster, but everything that I've been doing up until now was the exact same thing that I just did. Just to show everyone one more time, take your left hand and form this shape, place it over your member like so, then take your right hand, place it over your glands like so, stroke up, release, and squeeze, stroke up, release, and squeeze, stroke up, release, squeeze. Just as a last note for this exercise, whenever you're taking your left hand and clamping down, try and not put too much pressure along the backside, as we know there's a very large cluster of veins. If you find that your thumb still places too much pressure and doesn't allow blood to effectively escape, what you can do is take a slightly closer grip and then stroke upwards, release, and squeeze, stroke up, release, and squeeze. Sometimes your thumb might actually be blocking the veins, and by taking this closer grip, you're going to keep that from happening. So guys, what are some of the benefits of using this new version of the Angion method? Number one, you no longer need any lubrication. By simply sliding your skin up and down, it completely does away with the need for it. Number two, since this version is exceptionally more effective, guys will begin making progress at a much faster rate. 3, even if you already have well-developed arteries, this version allows for a very straightforward and fun way to quickly scale up the degree of stimulation to a level that you need to start making improvements. Number 4, this new version does away with a lot of the unnecessary stimulation that happened with the first version, which often caused men to unintentionally orgasm. Number 5. Unlike the first Angion, this can be performed every other day to every 2 days to great effect. In fact, because it's so stimulating, I prefer to personally use it on a 1-on, 2-off schedule. This means I give myself 2 days break. Number 6, an increase in testicle size. Within a week or so of using Angion Method 2.0, my testicles went up a nice bump in size. 7, a much greater resting size. Using this new version, nearly any guy can grow from a grower to a shower in a matter of weeks. This means that for many, cold flacids or a severely shrunken state while not erect become a thing of the past. And then number 8, dramatically improved response time. It's no exaggeration to say that after repeated use of Angion Method 2.0, your erectile response will become intense and have a very noticeable accompanying heartbeat. If you'd like this video and would like to see some of my future releases, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button now. Here within the next couple of weeks, I hope to make my channel multilingual. This has been a much requested feature for some time now. The first languages I hope to add in the captions will be Spanish, German, French, and hopefully Japanese. Well guys, I hope everyone enjoys this latest version of the Angion method and that it helps get you that much closer to your dream size. I'm your host, Janus, signing off.